So I just realized I'm 99% sure I have every single part to build an Evo 10 short block. I'm not going to be building the short block for the new Evo 10. I have everything to build my high horsepower short block for my personal half wrapped camo Evo 10. Let's head out of the shop, pull everything out of storage, and see if we have every single part that we need. So here are all the parts for a bottom end build. We have a brand new set of Wiseco forged pistons, 86 millimeter, 9.0 to 1 compression. Huge shout out to Wiseco and Modern Auto Performance for getting me hooked up with these pistons. We have a set of Manly I-beam rods. I've been running these same exact rods on this motor for quite some time. ACL bearings for the main, the rod, and thrust, of course. New OEM oil pump. We still don't have a timing chain or any of the gaskets for the top end, so we can't throw that together today. And the only other thing that may be a problem, the ring compressor that I have is set at 86.5 millimeter. It's not an adjustable one, but I do have these things laying around, all these guys right here. I've never been a fan of the adjustable ones, so I may have to run in and pick up an 86 mil. But other than that, we should be good to go. Guys, I don't know if you remember, or if you're new to the channel, I made an hour-long plus detailed descriptive video on how to build a 4B11T, the same exact motor. So if you guys want to go check that out, it'll be linked up in the top right hand corner. Today I'm not really going to go all that in depth with it. I'll show you guys a few things, of course, and the one main thing I want to show you guys and kind of check out for myself is the piston wall clearance. I don't know if you remember, but this had a cylinder 4 piston failure, so they had to hone that cylinder wall a little bit extra. If it's too much, I would just go back up to 86.5, but I really want to see 86 mil. So first things first, let's check the piston and wall clearances. If that's good, we're gonna have to check the rod clearances, the main bearing clearances, and set the ring end gaps. And then after all that's done, all the long boring stuff is done, we can start assembling. If you guys want to pick up any of these parts we're using on this build, I'll link them down below. Wiseco, thank you for sending over the pistons. Manly I-beam rods, huge shout out to Manly for creating an awesome set of rods. ECL race bearings, OEM oil pump, all the stuff can be had over at MA Performance. I'll link it down in the description box below. So what we are going to be using to check the piston wall clearance, a nice set of digital calipers. And then with that, we need, let's see, where are these guys at? Oh, here we go. In this little red pack are, what are these called? Telescoping gauges, I believe. 54 to 88 millimeter. Okay, we should be good. So this is all we need to check the piston wall clearance. Let's head back down to the shop and make sure we're good to go before we start assembling. We got all the piston to wall clearances measured. Number 1's at 4.5, 2's at 4, 3's at 4.5, 4's at 4. Wiseco recommends 3/1000s, so they are a little bit looser, but to be honest, it's completely fine. It's much better to have loose pistons than to have tight. Say if they were like 2/1000s or 1.5/1000s, I'd definitely bring this back and they'd have to hone the cylinders out just a little bit to get them to the proper clearances. Next thing to do is to move on to setting the ring end gaps. Basically all you do, you take a piston ring, this is the top ring here, insert it down into the cylinder wall, grab a piston, flip the piston upside down, and push the ring down into the cylinder wall about 1 inch. And then you grab a set of feeler gauges and measure the gap that is on the ring. The top ring is going to go to 0.018 and the second ring is going to go to 0.020 on this specific build. The first ring we put in there is measuring at 0.010, so it's quite a bit tight. Obviously tight is better than loose on these right now, not when you get it all said and done, but right now So, but all we're gonna do is grab the ring end gap filer, file it out until it measures 0.018 inside the cylinder wall. If it's too tight, the ring expands, metal expands when it gets hot. So if it's too tight, what'll happen is the ends will touch, they'll butt, and then you'll end up cracking a piston. So make sure you get these things checked and filed out. Ring end gaps are very easy to check. The piston wall is a little bit more technical, but the ring end gaps, pretty sure anybody can do. All you need is a set of feeler gauges. So if you guys are building a motor at home, 100%, I mean, you should probably check all this, but 100% you have to check and file the rings. All of the ring end gaps are set, the piston and wall clearances are checked. Next thing to do is to move on to the bearing clearances. All this should already be in check. There's nothing to adjust here if everything checks out. If it doesn't, we're gonna have to order a different set of bearings, but these are all ACL race standard size bearings. So let's see, what are we running for gaps? Mains are gonna be anywhere from 0.0015 to 1.8. Rods are gonna be 1.5 to 2.0. Last time I built a motor, it came out to 1.5 and 1.8 on the rods. 1.5 on the main, 1.8 on the rods. Like I said, all this should be good to go. All we're gonna do is check it. Unfortunately, we are gonna be checking this with plastic gauge. I know it's kind of frowned upon, but it's all I have to work with. So yeah, I'm working with what I got. Alright guys, so we did run into a very slight issue when checking all the main bearing clearances, and this is exactly why you check it. 1 and 5 are right about 2000s, 1.8 to 2000s. 2, 3, and 4 are super tight at about 1000s. So basically what that means, if I was to run this motor how it is, which I probably could and it might last for a little bit, but being that 3 main bearing clearances are tighter, I would probably end up eventually spinning a bearing. So ACL does make extra oil clearance bearings and it gives you an extra thousands. So I'll probably have to run 3 of those extra oil clearance bearings in the center and 2 standard on the outside. Get all 5 of them right at 2000s and then we can move on with the build. I'm glad I'm checking this out now. I'm glad I'm trying to build my short block now before I have all the stuff to do the top end. Definitely gonna save my ass in the long run. I am gonna go ahead, check out the rods, make sure the rods are good to go, and we don't need to order different bearings there as well. Kind of sucks, but this is exactly why you need to measure this kind of stuff. On the rods, we're looking for around 2 to 2.5 thousandths as well. All this number stuff kind of confuses me. I'm not a machinist and I'm not a freaking like a math technician. So a lot of times I get like inches and millimeters confused, but I know 2000s is like 2/1000 of an inch, which is like smaller than your hair essentially. I think a hair is like 3/1000. So I've decided to kind of step away from the plastic gauge. My dad was actually a machinist for like 25 years of his life. So he has a bunch of really high-end tools. I do not have a bore gauge, unfortunately, but what I'm using is this like internal micrometer to measure the rods and to measure the block. To measure this crank, I'm using this Mitsubishi little micrometer thing, which very, very nice to use. The reason I'm not going to be using plastic gauge anymore is I keep getting really inconsistent readings. All of the rods seem tight on plastic gauge, but when I go to measure them out with the proper equipment, I'm getting like perfect readings right at 2000. So yeah, I've been at this for like 5 or 6 hours now, just measuring stuff out, trying to get the hang of it because it's all new to me. But it's kind of fun to learn, and I know in the long run, when I get good at it, it's not only going to be faster to do it this way, it'll be much more accurate. So right now I'm just going through and measuring the crank for all the rods. The crank's measuring at 2.0459. Literally, all of them are right at that same exact 0458.8 to 0459. All right, crank is all measured out for where the rods sit. Next thing to do is go through and measure out all the rods themselves. So I have the bearings in here. I have them torqued down properly. Torque spec on the ARP rod bolts is 30 foot-pounds. So one is already done. Where's number one? One's over there. It's already finished up. I'll just be using this little T-gauge. This is all I have for now. I am gonna buy a bore gauge so I can do this properly, but for now, let's use this T-gauge. 2.0479. 2.04. Wow. They literally come right out to right at the 2,000ths of an inch. Rod number one, rod number two, good to go. I'm gonna go bang out the other two rods, and then we can move on to my main concern. With plastic gauge, the crank bearing clearances appear to be way too tight. Like 3 of them are too tight, 2 of them are fine. So I can't wait to measure it out actually with proper tools and see the reading we actually get. Damn, all right on the money. All right, boys, here is a scoop. All of the rod bearing clearances came out to literally right at 2,000ths of an inch. Let me pull out my little spec paper. So the crank was measuring at 2.0459. The rods with the new bearings installed, of course, comes out to 2.0479. So right at 2,000ths of an inch for the rod clearances. I'm very happy with that. I think it's a solid clearance number. A lot of people online are going from like 1.8 to 2.2. That came out right at 2,000ths without doing any like bearing adjustments. You can buy oversized or undersized bearings, but I'm happy with that. And I really hate to blue ball you right here, but I don't have time to measure the crank or to build the rest of the motor today. My birthday is actually the day you're watching this, August 17th. So happy birthday to myself. It is currently Thursday the 15th, and my family wants to bring me out to dinner tonight. And I'm sitting here building a motor in the shop when they're all waiting for me at dinner. So guys, I'm gonna wrap up the video right here. I will probably be building this short block tomorrow or maybe Saturday on my birthday. So stay tuned for that. We still don't have cams in. I'm going for like 600 plus ish horsepower on this motor this time around. So that is requiring GSC S2s or S3s. We're doing cams, we're doing springs, maybe some port work. I think the bottom end is solid. Quick spec sheet on the bottom end, Manley I-beam rods, Wiseco pistons, ARP studs everywhere. Stock 86 mil block, not sleeved, OEM sleeves. And I think that should be plenty for around 600. I may have to upgrade like maybe the turbo or some fuel system components, but 600 on this Evo this time around should be good if it holds up. Thank you guys so much for watching today's episode. Love and appreciate every single one of you. You're all like a family to me, and I can't thank you enough for the support this far in the YouTube channel career. Holy shit, almost to 200K. It's all because of you guys. Peace out. I'll see you in the next vlog.